about modal auxiliary verbs today. Modal auxiliary verbs are verbs which express modality, which is likelihood, ability, permission, request, capacity, suggestions, order, obligation, or advice. And these verbs are usually paired with the base form of another verb. So some examples of these types of verbs in English are can, able to, should, supposed to, may, allowed to, want, like, must, have to. These verbs make it easier for us to express our needs, abilities, wants, hopes, and likes in German more easily. So we will kind of progress in our ability to communicate in German after we learn these modal auxiliary verbs. The first verb that we're looking at is müssen. If we know for a modal verb, if we know the infinitive form and we know the ich form, we can figure out the conjugations for the verb pretty easily. So here we do have the infinitive form up at the top, and we have the ich form here. I like to say that modal verbs follow a hot dog pattern in their conjugations. That means that the ich form and the RZS form are the same on the one side, and the wir form and the ZZ form are the same on the other. And each side kind of looks similar for the du form and the ir forms to the other ones that are the other conjugations on their sides. So here we have ich muss, and then down here we have RZS muss. And then over here we have wir müssen, and ZZ müssen. Now, the other ones look really similar, okay, and they kind of follow the same rules. Not the rest of this doesn't follow S1010, but the du form does take an ST ending. We just take the same form as the ich form here, and we'll use that for the du form. Now, since our stem already ends in an S, we only add a T for the du form in this instance. And the ir form here, we take the same type of form that we had up above there, muss, but we add a T to this. And that is how we conjugate müssen, which means must or to have to. So it's kind of similar to English. Let's take a look at our next modal verb. Mögen means to like. So we have our ich form there, and we have our infinitive form up here. So if we know that our ich form is mag, we also know that our RZS form is mag. It's going to be hard to get used to this, the fact that with our modal auxiliary verbs that ich does not end in an E and RZS does not end in a T, that these forms are the same. So the du form here, we're going to take mag down here, and we're going to end it ST. And then the wir form is mög, ends in an EN, mögen. And then the ZZ form is also going to be mögen. And then the ir form is going to be mögt. Okay, so then that's just a T ending on there. And mögen again means to like. Let's take a look at the next one. Dürfen. Dürfen means may or to be allowed to. If we know the ich form is ich darf, the RZS form is RZS darf, and the du form is du darfst. The wir form is going to be wir dürfen. If we know that the wir form is wir dürfen, we also know that the ZZ form is dürfen as well. And then the ir form is going to be to end in a T, right? And it's going to look similar to the wir and the ZZ forms with that sound there. It's going to be ihr dürft. Okay, moving on. Next verb that we have is sollen. Sollen means should or to be supposed to. The ich form of sollen is ich soll. The RZS form is RZS soll, and the du form is du sollst. Hopefully we're kind of picking up on the pattern here, the way that all of these modal verbs conjugate, recognizing that if we know the infinitive form and we know the ich form, we know the rest of the conjugations are pretty easy. Wir is going to be wir sollen, and the ZZ form is going to be ZZ sollen, and the ir form is going to be ihr sollt with the T ending. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Our next verb is wollen. If we know the ich form will and we know the infinitive wollen, we can do the rest of the conjugations here. RZS will, and then du willst. And then wir wollen, and then ZZ wollen. And then the ir form, take the same stem on that side, but we're going to end it in a T. Ihr wollt. Wollen means to want to. And then the last verb that we have here, können, can, or to be able to. We have the ich form here, ich kann, the infinitive form up above, können. We are going to take the same form for the er sie es kann. And for the do form, it's going to be du kannst. And then for the wir form, it will be wir können. Oops. Wir können. And then sie können. And then the ihr form will be ihr, the T ending. Okay, so these are our modal verbs that we have in this unit. We're going to take a look at how we use them in context now. It was mentioned in the definition that these modal verbs typically have another verb, another main verb, or not main verb, but another regular verb that they have in conjunction that they're paired with. So here we have Silke und Ferdinand, that's our subject, that's like saying they, right? Sie on the plural side. We want to say can read well. So if we say they, that's like saying sie können. So sie können, and then gut lesen. Notice that our other verb is at the end of the sentence in the infinitive form. This means Silke and Ferdinand can read well. In English, we say they can read well. In German, you say they can well read. Okay, and that is what sounds normal, and that is what is correct in German. It does sound like you're speaking a bit like Yoda, but that's the way that it works. Then we have Manfred, so that's like er. So we know that that is the same as our ich form, so we're going to be pulling down here kann. Manfred kann seine Hausaufgabe machen. Manfred can do his homework assignment. And we see that machen is at the end of the sentence in infinitive form. And that our modal verb is the one that is conjugated. You can hear that in English too. Manfred can do his homework assignment. Can is the one that is not like in the infinitive form. Let's take a look at number 3. Do is the subject here. So we want to pull down kannst as our conjugated form. It would be capitalized. It's the first word of the sentence. Kannst du Deutsch sprechen? Can you speak German? And notice that sprechen is at the end of the sentence. And since we're asking a question here, we start with our verb and then our subject. Kannst du Deutsch sprechen? Can you speak German? And then the next one, we have our subject is ich. So we're going to use kann. Ich kann am Wochenende wandern. I can hike on the weekend. And wandern is at the end of the sentence in the infinitive form. And then our last one, we have ihr as our subject. We're going to conjugate that like könnt. Könnt ihr ins Kino mitkommen? Can you come along to the movie theater? And again, this would be capitalized since it's the first word of the sentence. Mitkommen is our infinitive verb that's at the end, come along. Okay, so now we kind of have a good understanding of how these modal verbs conjugate, how they look in context. You guys can now start practicing your Quizlet conjugations of these modal verbs. We will have a quiz coming up on these modal verbs soon.